The first 7 or 8 years that I was at Facebook, every single week I felt like an imposter.
It's really the moments when you're doubting your abilities or you feel like a fraud, or you feel like you don't belong.
The constant refrain in my head is like, well, do you really deserve to be here? You've never done this before. Like, what right do you have to be put in this situation and get to do what you do? Right.
There's a part of me that's just like, you're not a trained psychologist. What are you talking about? I'm going to say the wrong thing and embarrass myself.
Something clicked for me where I realized it's kind of two sides of the same coin, right? Being in an uncomfortable situation, being in a position where you feel like, hey, do I really know how to do this? I'm not prepared for it, kind of coincides with the fastest and most intense periods of growth. And I started to realize, well, maybe it's not so much of a bad thing. That's also what's going to push me to grow and learn.
There's oftentimes underlying belief systems. I'm too kind to be a leader. I'm not dominating and commanding enough. There's a connection being made here between what effective leadership is and isn't. Let's interrogate that connection. Is that connection actually true? What if we redefine that?
I am much better at asking for help now than I was earlier in my career. I used to actually just try and hold it all in. I was like, hey, I better fake it till I make it. If everyone thinks that maybe I'm coming to the table like I know it, then, I can fool them. And now I realize I was really just preventing myself from being able to get that support and that empathy and that camaraderie and that advice that would have helped me actually grow faster and maybe with a little bit less pain in the process. And so it's okay to ask for help.
I like to think of it a little bit as you got inner board of directors, and there's some noisy, chatty voices that every so often sit in the chairperson's seat and start taking over. And if you start to recognize, wait, no, I'm the chairperson. I don't want to hear from you right now. We'll hear from you later. It starts to create some power and you start to notice when it's happening. So gaining awareness, just sort of like, oh, that is an inner critic. That's what it's trying to do. There's a self-distancing that's valuable.
So much of it that helped me was realizing that everyone feels this way to some extent. Sometimes you can see from the outside, you're like, oh, this person clearly they've made it, they know what they're doing, but that's never the case. And so if I feel uncomfortable, it's okay. Other people feel that way too. Everyone does. It's totally natural.
Look, we all feel it. And I find certainly from client work that there is a little bit of a softening and solidarity, just knowing that, right? Just like, oh, you have that too. I have that. Yeah, there's some value to that.